Once the ball's jumped up, I try to pretend like I'm almost in the game, but from the sidelines, part of work, and not making excuses for whatever life throws at you. Besides, you can't help it. When I became a head coach about 4 years ago, my wife now, but she was my girlfriend at the time, told me that she didn't think I could be a head coach because I was too nice. I'm getting to the point where I feel like this could for sure be a home for a long time.
Welcome back to another episode of The Huddle. I've been waiting for this one, and it's an in-person one, which I always enjoy. We're at John Cain Arena because there's an open air game this round, and it's with the South East Melbourne Phoenix, and the head coach, Josh King, joins me now. Coach, it's great to catch up. It's been a while now. You feel settled in to Melbourne?
Not completely, but we're getting there. We're just at IKEA this morning. Yeah. Slowly but surely, step by step.
Well, we're here because there's an open air game coming. We've just had the roof open for a little bit. You had a press conference. The pyrotechnics are going on right now. Your family's over here. How is all the excitement still building up for each game? Do you still feel like you're new, or does it still feel like, okay, no, this is my home now?
Well, I hope I'm getting to the point where I feel like this could for sure be a home for a long time. Melbourne's a great city. The league is awesome. That's one of the main reasons why I wanted to come here. But the excitement hasn't worn off, and I hope it never wears off.
What has been some of the most rewarding moments for you early on since touching down in Melbourne? One, on the court, and then maybe we'll talk about off the court and the lifestyle.
Well, I have to give the players that I coach every day and the coaches that I get to be around and just the people of the organization. They've made the transition very smooth in a time where it's tough. Anytime you come into a new situation, middle of the year, it could go either way. And this has been just a completely smooth transition, and a lot of it has to do with the players and the people I work with every day.
We'll talk a bit about that, getting the phone call and your coaching journey as a whole, because there's some fun anecdotes in there, and I'm sure there's some other things that we want to get out of you. But off the court, what's the lifestyle been like? You said you enjoy Melbourne. What is it about Melbourne?
It's got a little bit of everything. It's got the city, you got the beach, just the small little suburbs. It's got the best of both worlds, and I haven't found the cafes, the coffee. The coffee is, and I'm a big coffee guy. I drink probably 6-7 cups a day.
A day?
A day, a lot of coffee. Yeah. Doesn't matter what time. I can drink a coffee at 11 o'clock at night and knock out 30 minutes later. So this is heaven for me.
Well, I knew we'd get along well for many reasons, but that is what I like to. 6 is probably too many for me. I'm 2 a day, but you have got a newborn as well, so that's understandable. You knew about then coffee coming to Melbourne, but then the first cup, talk to me about it.
Amazing. It's, coming from the States, going to Europe, the coffee was like, it was another level. This is another level coming from Europe, and Europe's got good coffee. So yeah, I haven't had a bad cup of Joe since I've been here. The only thing is my pocket is just getting a little bit emptier, because I every time I can get a flat white, strong flat white, I get one.
6 or 7 strong flat whites. There's the secret to success, and that might be a lot of reasons for what we see from you on the sidelines too. The energy's there. Yeah,
I'm a coffee fiend, addict. I can't say it's probably a healthy habit, but it's one that I have. So I gotta have some type of vice.
I love it. I'm all for it. Talk to me about, I guess, the biggest challenge so far for you then since being here. Is it being away from the family at the initial start of it? Was that a big part?
Oh, that wasn't easy at all. Have a newborn, keeping, all right, guys, all right, I'll see you tonight. Sorry about that. Players getting done with their interviews. But no, being away from the family, and luckily it was only for about 2 weeks, but having a newborn, you don't want to miss too much time out then. So that was very tough early on. But again, credit to the people that I work with for making it easy, making it helpful, and just making it as smooth as transition as possible to get them over here.
Let's go back to growing up in Indiana. What are some childhood memories from Josh King? What type of kid was Josh King?
Well, I only grew up in Indiana till about the age of 7, and then I moved to North Carolina. So you got Hoop State, Hoop State. I started off a Hoosier fan, and then I moved to, right outside of Tobacco Road, where you got North Carolina, Duke, NC State. So even coaching Matt Hurt, all I do is pick Matt Hurt's brain about what it was like playing for the GOAT, Coach K. And I remember going to school, and if the Duke-Carolina game was on a Wednesday night, always at 9 o'clock, and I was a Duke guy at the time, and if your team lost, you didn't want to go to school the next day because your friends, your mates would be making fun of you all day long. So those are some of my fondest memories, just basketball memories growing up in the state.
Is it because you think being in Indiana and North Carolina, two basketball-crazed places, is that how you became attracted to basketball, or was there always something there from the family?
No, I don't think it had anything to do with living in Indiana or North Carolina. I played all sports growing up, played baseball, basketball, football, the three big sports in the States. And then I just found a love for basketball, and probably should have went with another one because I'm only about 5'9", 5'10". So, but was lucky enough to, play in college and compete at a relatively high level. But I've always loved the game. I've loved the team aspect of it. I enjoy other sports as well, but basketball has just been my passion.
When was basketball then, I guess, the playing side of it, a realistic dream? Because growing up and doing it all was one thing, but then to be able to realize, getting to college, people think now, because we see so many in the professional game who have been to college, fans think college must be easy to get to. It's not. It is hard to get to college, and to, again, have a journey there is a completely different story altogether.
Yeah, I think that's my sophomore year in high school. I started actually getting, back then it was letters. I don't even know how it works now, but I started getting letters, and I actually stopped playing. I played all three sports up until my sophomore year of high school, but then I just completely focused on basketball, and being an undersized player, or smaller player, just had to work that much harder. But I was determined to play at the collegiate level, and luckily enough, I got an opportunity. I only had one scholarship offer and made the most of it.
Your competitiveness as a player and then a coach, was there anything in your childhood that really brought that out about you?
My mother is so most of the times I think it's the father that's pushes the son. In my home, it was opposite. We would get home from a game or a practice, and my dad would have to tell my mother to leave us alone. If we had a bad game, don't talk to them. But she was the one she was a really good softball player and basketball player, so she was really competitive herself. And I think I just get this from my mom.
When you get to college, what is that moment like again for the family? Because as you said, that's the first goal of a lot of players at that time. Once you get to high school, you sign a letter of intent, you do all of that, you arrive at school. Do you remember what that was all
like? Not fun. It was tough because I went to a level that I probably shouldn't have. I went too high of a level. It was my only scholarship offer. A guy by the name of Greg Horrenda gave me an offer, and I was playing at East Carolina, so we were playing Louisville and Marquette, and guys like Travis Diener and Dwayne Wade, who was at Marquette at the time. Louisville went to the Final Four, so I was in way over my head. It was a rough freshman year, and then the coach gets let go, so then you have a new coach. So it was just a welcome to the real world kind of moment where, hey, it's not always going to be easy. Where high school was easy, college was like, hey, it's not always going to be gummy bears and fruit roll-ups.
So throughout the college journey, high school, even growing up, what is one thing you're most proud of having overcome to become the man you are today?
Well, from my subpar playing career, I was a small player. So I was proud of myself for just kind of sticking with it. And I chose a sport where it's a big man's game, but it was just the love of it, and hard work kind of got me to where I was as a player. So I guess that would be like the one thing that I've kind of hung my hat on, is just hard work and not making excuses for whatever life throws at you. Size, you can't help it.
When you talk about coaching and the idea of getting into coaching, and again, I think a lot of fans and people sit there and say, oh, you played basketball at a high level, like you'll coach one day. It's not for everyone. When did you remember a little light bulb moment of like, this is something I could really make a career out of?
Well, first off, I knew I wasn't a high level player, but I always wanted to be involved in the game. And to be quite honest, after college, I didn't really know which way to go. I was a business major, and I loved hoops. It's all I knew. Worked camps in the summertime. Didn't have any other hobbies, really. Didn't play Xbox or PlayStation or any of that type stuff. Social media wasn't around as much back then. So it was only hoops, playing in the park or whatever. And I knew being a coach was a way to stay involved in the game. And I took a small college job right out of college, and that's kind of where it started. And it's just kind of progressed and progressed. Eventually got into the pro game, and I don't know if I ever knew I was going to make a career out of it, but I at least wanted to try it, to be involved in the game.
Do you remember that specific moment from playing in college where become coaching straight after graduating or straight after leaving school was a realistic opportunity? Because it can be, that's a big time in people's life where you're soul searching and figuring out what is next.
Well, I actually ended up graduating from a Division II school at Eckerd College in Florida. And I'll never forget this. I was having dinner with my coach at the time, who's now the athletic director there. And he was asking me what I wanted to do, and I told him I wanted to coach. And I left his house. He sent me a message saying, I'm not sure you really know what you want to do. And I thought, because I think I threw a million different things at him, but I knew coaching was what I wanted to do in the back of my mind, and I got an opportunity at an early age, and like I said, I've just taken off and ran with it since then.
Your coaching style, and you said it in your first interview here in South East Melbourne, it can be a little crazy. But I think when you hear a little crazy, people might think there's a negative connotation to it, but there really isn't. It's a unique aspect of what makes you who you are. Where does that come from? The coffee, one thing.
Maybe the 6 or 7 coffees a day. I just try to be, one thing, I think I read this in Bill Parcells' book, talking about just being yourself. I think everybody, whether, you doing your job or whoever, we always have idols or mentors we'd like to be like. I like this coach, I like his coaching style. But one thing I try not to do is try to be like anybody else. I try to be myself, and where I get it from, I couldn't tell you. I just, I know it's a competitive thing. Once the ball's jumped up, I try to pretend like I'm almost in the game, but from the sidelines. So it's a part of me is kind of, I feel like I'm playing when I'm on the sidelines. So maybe that's a little bit where the craziness comes from. But at the end of the day, I always tell my players, all I'm trying to ultimately do is get them to be their best.
It's an inspiring thing to hear that, of just being yourself and being true to who you are. When people are like that and they're striving to do that, there's often, when you're trying to get to a certain rank of coaching or playing, you have outside noise or people saying, maybe that's not the way to do it. Did you have anyone say that at all throughout your journey, or was it the other side of be true who you are?
I think we all have mentors. I have guys that I talk to. I have mentors that necessarily I don't even talk to. They don't even know me, but they are my mentor from, whatever, following them on social media, reading their books. But for the most part, you get advice from certain people, but I'm always going to make the final decision on what I think is best for the current team that I'm coaching. But with that being said, I've worked for a lot of good coaches. I've taken everything I know from either them or from other people. We all steal, and I try to have some original ideas, but most of the things that I do with my teams is stuff that I've seen in the past.
People talk about this, and coaches often say that, I've taken that from where I've been. And I'm not sure why people think that can be a bad thing, because I feel like it's a crazy notion to think that you're going to come in fresh and try and rewrite the coaching book.
There's only one person in coaching that can say they didn't take anything from, and that's Naismith. And that's always like a funny jab at coaches. Okay, Naismith. Yeah. When coaches, hey, listen, we all have egos, right? And coach, a lot of us, we think we're better than we really are. At the end of the day, I always say the sport, any sport is whoever is on the floor making the actions happen. I always give the players credit, because they have to go out and perform. Our jobs as coaches is to put them in the right position, but they always have to go make the plays. So, it's funny, if coaches don't say they steal ideas from others, they're lying.
Yeah, when you are an assistant coach, and we'll talk a bit about the transition in a bit to becoming a head coach, but an assistant coach with the coaching style that you have, what's that like in terms of, were you almost like a caged animal?
I don't think I've ever said this publicly, but when I was an assistant, when I became a head coach about 4 years ago, my wife now, but she was my girlfriend at the time, told me that she didn't think I could be a head coach because I was too nice.
Right.
Too calm. And I think I surprised her. I think your role as an assistant coach is to always kind of fill the void of what that team needs. Some head coaches are the bad cop, and the assistant coach needs to be the good cop. Luckily, that's been my role most of the time as assistant coach. But I've also worked for a couple coaches that they're the good cop, and you got to be the bad cop. So, as an assistant coach, I was always just trying to do whatever I could to support the coach, and again, put the team in the best possible position to win games.
What's that challenge like of moving from an assistant coach? Because I know you ended up in a conference that I'm very familiar with, the America East Conference from New Hampshire, and you were at UMass Lowell for a little bit as well. Doing all of that, is there a certain degree of change that you have to adjust to every single time it's at a new place? Or if it's an assistant coach for a similar type school, it's pretty easy to transition?
Yeah, I think every situation's different as an assistant coach. I think, again, you have to adapt to whoever you're working for. So, again, I've worked for really good coaches and always just tried to figure out what they need from me. And luckily, I've worked for guys that gave me a lot of responsibility, and whether that was at the college level or pro level. And then, again, you take all these different ideas, and it is true, and then one day you get to do it yourself. At some point, you're going to get a chance, or hopefully you get a chance. And luckily, I've gotten that opportunity.
Tell us about that phone call when it came through about, hey, this is going to be a head coaching opportunity, but even a phone call to, hey, you're going to have to leave the States to get it.
Well, I left the States as an assistant coach and took an assistant coaching role at Ludwigsburg in Germany. So I was an assistant for 3 years at the pro level. My first head coaching opportunity came at USK Prague, so in the Czech Republic League. I was in the States when I actually got the phone call to be the head coach. And I'm not gonna, if I'm telling the truth, I was a little nervous because I've never been a head coach before. And you got to play confident, and I know what I'm doing. But at the same time, it's like, man, when that whistle blows, first practice, you're not the assistant coach there anymore. Everyone just looking at the head coach, what's going on. Whistle blows, everyone's looking at you. So I was a little eager, but I was confident that I could do a good job.
Was that challenge or transition made easier because of your prior experience being overseas already?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I would have had that job just coming from the college game, I would have really struggled. But I worked under a really wise head coach in Germany for 3 years, and I was confident from those experiences and also watching other high-level professional basketball in Europe that I could steal enough ideas from other people to put my guys in the right position.
What is like the European lifestyle again? When you've grown up and you've bounced around America for so long to go over there, was there anything that really challenged you early on?
Well, it's a completely different style of game. It's a completely different pressure. I tell all my buddies back in the States that coach, there's always pressure to win, right? But a lot of times, I'll speak from the college level because that's all I really know in the States. I haven't been at the professional level in the States, but coaches have 5 and 6 year contracts. In Europe, you have a 3 to 4 game contract. So it's game to game. That's the biggest difference to me on the coaching aspect of things is the pressure to win it. Each time you step out on the floor is really high in Europe. And for the most part, coaches only have 1 year contracts. So that's a huge difference from the States.
What's the lifestyle like off the floor, and what do you get up to when you're overseas in Europe with coaching? Are you completely inundated with basketball, or do you find time? I know you've got a family and trying to balancing all of that now.
Well, the one thing I love about the pro game from a coaching standpoint is that it's just basketball. I know in the college game, there's a lot more things that go on, things that I think a lot of coaches, if they were telling the truth, they don't like doing, whether that's flying to recruit a guy that they're not even going to get, or making sure player XYZ's dorm room is okay. Like those are things that you have to deal with at a college level. In the pro level, hey, you have your team, you have your scout, you talk with your assistant coaches, you get a game plan together. And then once you leave the office or the practice floor, that's it. You don't have to worry about anything else. It's just basketball. So from that standpoint, really blessed and fortunate to be in a position where all you got to worry about is basketball.
It's fascinating to hear that because, again, I go back to my college memories and my assistant coaches where we're on the road throughout the entire season. You're traveling, whether it's practice and all of that, and you've got to worry about academics. But when it gets to a summer break, when I get to go home and see my family, the assistant coaches are flying to recruit. It is very hard to balance a family life with being an assistant coach at the college level.
Yeah, I would say I don't even know how those guys do it. I would guess the divorce rate's pretty high. Yeah. No, that's the difference too. We have a day off here. I get to go to the beach in the summertime with my family. In college, you have a day off. You get on a plane and you go watch Joe Smo make layups on his high school do some workouts. So for me, from a quality of life, again, if that's what someone wants to do, that's great. And I'm not saying I would never not want to do that again, but right now, where I'm at in my career, and I love this type of profession.
Well, we see your family over there and you've got the little one. So I know it's nice to have them here. When that phone call came, that you have an opportunity to come to the NBL, which you were very familiar with already, what was going through your mind?
We got to make it happen. No, when I knew there was a possibility to come to South East Melbourne, I was excited, ecstatic. I was under contract, so I wasn't 100% sure it could happen, but in my mind, I wanted it to happen somehow. You've
seen, as I said, you followed the NBL for a very long time. So you've seen it on the players' side of things, and coaches as well, but more so players and American players come here. Not many of them leave. They like to stay here. They love the league. They love the lifestyle. Talking to your wife, does all that pop up when you talk about where you're going next?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first off, it's a really unique league. I don't think there's one like it in the world. First off, you're playing basketball in the summertime, so it's almost like a high-level summer league. Like who doesn't love playing hoops in the summertime? So you get to, in an amazing country, you get to go to amazing cities. When you're in Europe or wherever, you got to go to, I don't know, maybe some backwoods village here. You're going to Brisbane, Sydney, some of the most beautiful cities in the world to play. The fans are great. The arenas are nice. Everything's state of the art. And again, the basketball's top notch. The coaches are great. And I don't know. I think I've named enough reasons why who wouldn't want to come take this job.
What's your family meant to you throughout your journey? Because again, we see you having success as a coach on the sideline, but there's sacrifices that have to be made behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely. That's the most important decision you have to make, is to have somebody that understands your ambitions, but also supports you and understands that, hey, it's not always going to be easy. It's not we've talked about all the good things that come along with this job, but it's not a 9-to-5. There's a lot of things that go on throughout a season. It's a lot of hard work, and again, you have to have a family that does make sacrifices for ultimately myself to be able to do what I love to do and my passion every day.
What's Josh King, the coach, like after a loss pre-baby? I feel like it changes a little bit when there's a baby involved, because you can kind of switch off, or is it still not?
Man, you're gonna make me tell on myself. Pre-baby, it's not happy.
Yeah.
Post-baby, it's not happy, but I think, once you have a child, everything it's perspective, right? And you come home, you see the baby smile, it's like you can't really focus too much on that loss. But I'm not happy when we lose.
Your philosophy in general, that style that you've created, you've been doing it for a little while now. Is it still evolving, or have you found something you say, you know what, this is who I am, this is what I want to get from a team, and this is what I'm going to make sure that I continue to push going forward?
Yeah, again, I've taken a little bit from everybody. I have a certain philosophy style that's maybe a little different, especially maybe in this league, different than most other teams. But I think being different is good. I think if everybody's the same, then you kind of get you're easily, you can be easily scouted, easily prepared for. And I think playing a little bit different style can give us an advantage in this league. Yeah.
Have you taken a moment yet in the last few weeks since you've been here to sit back and look at not just the success off the court, but on the court, but the way that you've adapted and you've kind of found home to say, hey, this is surreal and this is just the beginning?
Not yet. I think once the season is over, hopefully at the end of March,
yeah.
There'll be a time to maybe decompress a little bit. But right now, this is the sprint, and we're turning. If it's a 400-meter track, we're turning 200 meters here, and we got a big kick here from the end of December to the February 8th, last regular season game.
And you mentioned how we get to play in the summertime. That involves Christmas being in the sun, not something you would have been used to growing up. What are you looking forward to with that for the family?
This is different. This is it's really, we're 5 days right now from Christmas, and especially during basketball season, a lot of times it's tough because Christmas, you maybe have a game on Christmas, you're traveling on Christmas, so it comes and goes. But this year, having 30-degree, 90-degree weather for people in the States, and it's sunny, this is something I'm not used to for Christmas. But I'm excited to have my first summer Christmas.
Lastly, before I let you go, because I know we've got a big game to prepare for, but throughout your entire coaching journey, what's been the most rewarding part?
Man, this is going to sound cliche, but this is the honest truth, man. I just want my guys, and the most rewarding part is getting players to do things that they don't think they're capable of. And I think this year, especially with this team, again, I got to give these players a lot of freaking credit, man. They've been tough as nails so far, and I heard about how this particular team can't play defense, for example, and these guys are just buying in, and it's making these guys better, and it's helping us win some games. And that's just like a small example, but the most rewarding part for me is just pushing guys and seeing them reach heights that they haven't thought that maybe they can do themselves.
I do want to ask you on that, because you mentioned it, and again, that was we know sport in general is very narrative driven, and a lot of the stories that are out there, and people did say that, okay, well, Josh King's a defensive-minded coach, but this team just doesn't have the personnel to do it. And yet we've seen them be one of the best defensive teams in the league. Do you allow yourself to take a moment to say, hey, what I do seems to work. I know what I'm doing here. And if we can do this, we can do anything.
Again, that's the player. The players always have to see it work. Even if I know it'll work, I think everybody, it works. You were a player and you were in this league. I think every coach in this league knows it's work. It's getting the players to buy in. And once they see that it can work, then it raises another level. Because again, they got to be the guys that step out on the floor and go, man, if I give it my all today, if I hustle, if I play with extreme passion and heart, we're going to be a hard team to beat. Doesn't mean you're going to win every game, but it's for the most part going to give you a chance to win the game. And I think so far the guys that I get to coach every day have bought into that, and they've seen some success with that.
I think that's why you're destined for a lot of success in the NBL. So I appreciate you sharing a bit of your philosophy with us. Thank you. Good luck this weekend, and stay out of IKEA.
Thanks.